I mean, I did. I mean, I had that little dream that I had when I was about 15 years old. It came true, and I kind of never looked back. I mean, my son asked me, Dad, have you had any jobs? Did you ever have another job? And I go, all I could remember was I delivered papers. That's how far back I had a job. Like a as your parents would say, a real job. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I love being on stage. It's my favorite thing to do. And I mean, I love singing in front of the audience, but like, this sounds really shallow, but one of my favorite things to do of all time is after the show, and I get to like sign autographs and take pictures and meet people. That kind of makes me feel like that kind of makes you feel like the, rock starry kind of guy,
Yeah.
and it's kind of fun for the ego a little bit, but yeah, I love being on stage. I love the whole realm of rock and roll. I love it.
Just to be the next to be with you. Fill up your confidence so you can be on time for once.
Let me tell you, so when I first, when Billy Sheehan gave me the first phone call, and we got Paul and Pat, and when we first went out on the road, it was all men. It was all guys, right? And it was all like muso kind of guys, they would stare at Paul and Billy's fingers, and they'd stare at their pedals to see what, nobody looked at me, and they couldn't see Pat because I'm standing in front of Pat, so it was like mainly dudes. And then that was the first album, and I mean, there was some, there wasn't a lot of pop on that record. Lean Into It had kind of a little more pop melody, To Be With You and Just Take My Heart and that kind of stuff. But in the beginning of that tour, we started to get a lot more girls coming in, and then the guys were still there. That we always had that hardcore muso type audience. And then obviously, when To Be With You became a gigantic worldwide hit, it brought a lot of different people, different people that wouldn't be coming to a hard rock and roll show, especially with all the pyrotechniques that Paul and Billy have, And then I remember when To Be With You was a #1 hit, we played our kind of first big headlining show, and it was in Denver, Colorado. And I remember that first front row just being so blown away, and not because of the talent, because of like, oh man, I thought this was going to be like To Be With You night, because I mean, there was all these new fans, and then they liked it or they didn't like it. And then the following years, we started to get like a core audience of a lot more. It was still a lot of guys, and there was some girls, but then there were really like hardcore fans. Like, you would see the same people at these same shows, especially in America. I mean, I could totally recognize people that I've grown up with in a way, and they were just a really hardcore audience. And then we started going to Europe, and Asia, of course, and it was almost the same thing. You would weed out the people that would go, "Oh, I just love Just Take My Heart." What? Do that? Freaking out, And then we started to build this fan base, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. But it's amazing. It's kind of cute, and it's kind of, I don't know how to feel sometimes when, like, it's always like some pretty little teenager comes up and they go, I grew up with your music, and I'm sitting there like, how old are you? What? My mother sang, your songs to me when I was in the crib. It's like, I'm the one who, you know what I mean? It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm so blessed to do it.
Ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild world. I always remember you
the record business was like incredibly, it was so much fun and it was hard work and it was hard to, you got the record business and you got the musicians, and record business wants to tell you what to do about, like, Soon as To Be With You was a #1 song, right on the Lean Into It album, and the Bump Ahead album came out, and we had a finished album, and the record company was like, give me that next To Be With You, because you're on the radio and you're selling records and you're making money, but you're also making way more money for the record company. So they're like, give me that next To Be With You. Come on, and it's record companies telling you what to do, and you're and this is how I thought about it back in the day. Like, we're trying to make a compromise. Well, nowadays, record companies, they just sign you, man. They don't tell you what to do. They just let you do whatever you want to do. But there's no like real connection. I mean, like I have no, okay, that's one aspect of it. It was good to be told what to do, and then it was hard to be told what to do,
Right.
and, but it was still in a way kind of a business brotherhood. Now it's not that way at all. I mean, I don't even know what's going on. I don't even know how record companies deal with other artists these days. And with all the outlets to buy music, like, okay, obviously you got like iTunes and Apple Music and all these other little outlets to buy your music. And I'm thinking,
Right.
how am I going to get paid for this shit, right? How does this all work out? Because back in the day, you also had marketing people that work for like your publishing companies and your record companies, and everybody kind of helped out to find your money for you, or record companies would give you a certain amount of money so you could tour, and you had to pay that money back, but they would give you like upfront money. That doesn't happen anymore. Some of us don't want to go on tour as much like we used to. Billy Sheehan's a machine. He'll be in 3 or 4 bands,
Yeah.
Your Dog, Sons of Apollo, Mr. Big, tons of shit that he does. He's a machine, that guy. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to tour as much as I love the Mr. Big tour I'm on right now. It's a lot of hard work, but it's so fulfilling and beautiful. And the fact that we're so goddamn good, we're really good. And I'm like, usually, everybody, you start to get a little older and you don't play as well as you used to. And it's kind of like, it's over. It's the Big Finish tour, but it feels like the beginning tour, because we sound,
Really?
I feel just like I did back in the 1989, I'm trying to grow the hair too. I don't know why, but anyway, it was Santos Beach. It was in Sao
Yes.
Paulo. It was so bloody hot.
Unbelievable.
It was so hot that even at night, and I remember I don't remember the order, but it was like Lemonheads, Henry Rollins, Mr. Big, Dr. Sin from Brazil. I can't remember some of the other bands, but it had a really long catwalk, like a really long catwalk. And there was lights on stage, but when you walked out on the catwalk, you could only be seen by the gigantic full moon that was over the ocean. And thousands of people, mainly naked.
Right.
Everybody just had skin because it was so bloody hot, and boobs, and just no shirts, and walking out on that catwalk being lit up by the moon. And I was so far away from the stage. And I remember totally, I've said this before, and I don't know if anybody picked up on it, but I was so far away, and I felt like how like the Rolling Stones or Mick Jagger would feel. And I went, like, I don't know if you've ever been on camera before, but if you walk away from the camera and you do this, there's like a delay. So if you walk away from the stage, even your voice, you're like, I'll be your daddy, brother, it has that delay.
Right.
And I'm looking into the audience. I'm like, holy shit, I'm on top of the world. And I'm looking at these gigantic screens and I go, right. It was fresh. It's still fresh in my mind. It was one of my greatest experiences ever.
Whoa.